Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to Tool Talk. I'm your host, John Young, and this is the one and only tool master himself, Ben Stowe. Tonight, we're going to talk about, should you go cordless or should you stay wired with your drill?
Is that trademark? Did I just get in trouble for that?
I don't know. You might have. We might have like some old guy that used to be, next door to the guy that looked over the fence, and he might come and beat us up or something.
Who knew like how far ahead of the curve Wilson was, right? Like that's how we all are now,
Exactly.
I mean, we are all Wilson.
We're all socially distancing and staying and keeping our face covered. It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, how times have changed. We got a good crowd coming in. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight's topic is one that continually pops up. A lot of people are talking about the frequency thing and what happened with that and what is safe, what is not, how can we do this and such. One area, though, we've done many shows on this, Ben. You've talked about the frequency ranges and how it's changed. But one area that people, I don't think, kind of grasp is that there isn't one microphone that can really be the perfect mic everywhere.
Well, that's not entirely true. There is, but not at the money most DJs are willing to spend. Sure, Accient, for example, it pretty much covers the whole spectrum, but that's a price that, there's diminishing returns. It's a fantastic system, by the way. And there are other pro systems from, Sennheiser and other companies too, pro touring systems, but it's a big difference in money. So, right. For the typical DJ mic budget, $400 to $1,200, there is no one mic that, will be universally best everywhere. And by the way, yes, we have done a lot of shows on wireless. I'm still sending links to shows we did 4 or 5 years ago. That information is still current and it's still accurate and it's still useful. And even if we did 10 more shows on this, we're still more succinct than the FCC. No, I'm not even kidding. Take just for fun. Look at this real quick. I'm gonna show you something just for fun. Let me just pull this up real quick. I love this. I don't love this document, but I love sharing this document. So here you go. This is 187 pages long.
Yes. Okay.
Discussing a few changes to wireless mics and white space devices. 187 pages, and they didn't even get to the point. You have to go to like 4 other documents to actually figure out, and it took them a couple of years after that too to get to the point. So no matter how many shows we do, we're still being a lot more, succinct, I think.
Well, but you gotta admit, our show notes are pretty copious, and 187 pages. That's probably like 2 shows worth of notes.
I think our shows are more entertaining, and no knock against my friends at the FCC, but it's written about the way you'd expect a government document to be written.
Long and boring.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So there is, in the DJ realm, there isn't a ton of options that are universal, like we were just talking, unless you're going to spend the big money. You mentioned the frequency situation. Give us a quick little elevator speech of what happened to the frequencies for someone who has been living under a rock. They've been wired microphone for the last 20 years, and they're like, hey, wireless is cool. What happened to the frequencies that they should be aware of?
Well, I have a different FCC document for that.
This one's only 219 pages long.
No, this one's only 84. I'll just read it to you real quick.
Yeah,
but this
great.
talks about wireless microphone operations, and it talks about, rebanding things, transition out of the 600 megahertz. So this one, if you just want to hang tight, I'll just read through this real quick. It's only 84 pages.
Can I go get my coffee now, or should I take a nap?
No, I'll recommend coffee, because if you fall asleep, the show is really going to stink. So,
That would be that.
So here's the succinct. That's my word of the day. Now, that's my Reader's Digest version. Here is that similar to what we saw with the 700 megahertz transition, we have what they have called the 600 megahertz transition, and it's not really completely and wholly the 600 megahertz, just most of it. So basically, that's where TV stations used to be, and we used to operate where they were not. We just kind of hung out in the gaps between, and that's really still the case, except that we have everything's been moved. Basically, from 616 to 698 has been auctioned off. Billions and billions of dollars were raised, and they were able to reapportion that frequency to things like cell phones, you know? And it's really hard to argue against that. I mean, nobody likes it. I didn't like having a lot of gear become obsolete overnight, but it's really hard to argue that it's not better serving the public with cell phones. There are a lot more people using cell phones than there are wireless mics, and they're using them much more frequently. So if you look at the, balance of use and the effect on commerce, much as I didn't like it, it was hard to argue at the FCC. Besides, they didn't really care what I had to say.
I was going to
anyway.
say they didn't call and say, "Hey, yes, Mr. Stowe, can you please give us your opinion on this, because we're about to make a decision, but we just can't make a decision until we talk to you. Please tell us what you."
Well, listen, this affected TV stations. This affected broadcast microphones. This affected the NFL. This affected Broadway. This affected churches. So, there were DJs who were saying, we should band together. Oh, give me a break. The FCC doesn't even know DJs exist. I mean, the commercial, I don't know what the GDP value of the DJ industry is, but I'm pretty sure nobody knows.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
And DJs, I love you. I'm here, right? I'm here every Tuesday for the last 6 years. My point is, you all band together, and still nobody cares.
Yeah, we're not the NFL.
Close, no, I mean, close. 32 billionaires that own the NFL couldn't get the FCC to pay attention. Interesting of note that there are something on the order of 200 companies in the United States that each have revenues greater than the entire pro audio industry combined. It's pretty wild.
I guess that's a telling tale.
Yeah, there are 200 companies like, Apple, Amazon, whatever, that are bigger, Microsoft, bigger than our entire industry. I don't know exactly, if the number is around 200. Anyway, point being, so we, along with churches and Broadway and broadcast and the NFL and everybody else, we got to move. So our new home now is between 470 and 616. Minus TV 37, which we never had to begin with, so no loss there. That's always been reserved for medical telemetry and radio astronomy. And, I don't know about always, but long before I was born, I think. So anyway, now we exist still in the TV white space, which is the space between TV channels. And that is predominantly 470 to 616. So we talk about the 500 megahertz band. Now, one question that's predominantly on people's minds, and I'm just going to answer it right now.
Wait a second. Give me the question first so I can ask the question, and you can answer it. So then I feel like you've answer one of my questions, and I feel a little bit like a warm fuzzy inside. So please give me the question.
Go ahead, do it, yeah.
Yeah. What's the question? So I can then ask you the question.
Oh, so the question is, when will a 500 megahertz go away?
So, Ben, I've always wanted to know this. This is something that's been burning inside for a long time. We've seen the 700, we've seen the 600, the 500. When are they going to take that away and crush our spirit? That's
a really good question, John. I'm glad you asked. I don't think it'll be anytime soon. And by anytime soon, I mean decades. I know that people consume media differently. Undoubtedly, everybody who's watching this show is streaming it somehow. But in order to get rid of 500, it's not us they're kicking out. It's broadcast television. And when you look at the overall calling of broadcast television and its role with weather and public service and, announcements, that sort of thing, I think that's really a bridge too far. I just do not see them taking all of the TV stations off the air anytime soon. First of all, this process took a really long time.
Yeah.
A really long time. And, longer than many people were aware of it. It was in the works. And I think that, basically eliminating all the remaining over-the-air broadcast TV, it's almost, first of all, it's political suicide for whichever FCC commissioner tries it. Second of all, there really wasn't that much demand for the bandwidth. They didn't get as much money for this as they had hoped. They'd actually looked at taking away more. And T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, the cellular companies who primarily bought it, they said, we don't want it. We don't need it.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I don't think 500 is going away anytime soon. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but just reason tells me it would be a long time before that bridge could be crossed. We'd have ample warning, that's for sure.
Excellent. Okay. We've got people in the chat room. We had a couple of questions. We're going to get to those because I think we're going to hit most of the questions that have come up so far in our discussions. So we have this range of frequencies and we have our microphone. Now, if I buy my DJ microphone and I have something that works for me here, it may not be the best option to have that exact same setup frequency-wise microphone in a different market. Why would that be?
Well, the answer is simple, and I'll illustrate it, though. The answer is that TV stations are not on the same channels in all markets. And remember, we operate in the space between them. So there are a couple exceptions to that, like 900 megahertz and 2.4 gigahertz. One might say that those are more universally acceptable, but they have their own problems, and I think their problems are such that they're worse. One is you can pretty much count on everybody being in 2.4 everywhere you go.
Right.
It's not to say that it doesn't work, but it wouldn't be my go-to. When we look at the available spectrum in the 500, that still tends to be, and by the way, when I say 500, I mean 470 to 616. We're using round terms here.
Yeah.
Sort of like saying 600, So let's take a look. Let's take a look at an example, and I'm going to take the long way to get here because I got to make a show out of this. John pays me by the minute, but ice cream cones. But what I want to show is how challenging this can be for people, and then give you a little beacon of hope here while we're at it. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to organize my life here. Bear with me a quick minute. I'm going to do this. So this shows us, I'm going to pick on my friends in Chicago. Love Chicago. Been a while since I've been there, kind of getting like a serious hankering for one of those Portillo cake shake things. Anyway, what we can see here are TV stations available in the Chicago market. And anything that's in green means it's good for TV, but that means it's bad for you.
Okay.
So green means it's a strong TV station. You're going to be able to tune that in with your set-top box. If anybody remembers what those are. Mm-hmm. And on the left, we can see this azimuth that shows the direction of the channels relative to where I chose. Because we can get very granular here. We can pick a specific place in a city and see, and we'll look at another fun example of that in a minute. But here I can see that, well, I don't have a lot of TV coming from this way. So, maybe if I can keep my antennas going this way, I can maybe buy myself a little more space with some of these lower power fringe channels. Certainly indoors, anything in the yellow and the pink is probably not an issue at all. Outdoors, they might show up, but indoor or outdoor, the green is probably a problem. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we want to talk about, though, is we just got done covering the 600 megahertz transition. And I said that everything above TV 37 had to move. Well, right off the get-go, we can see 44, 44, 51, 45, all of these channels here. And we say, well, but didn't they have to move? Yeah, they sure did. And that is the problem. So let me show you a couple things here and just sort of mentally kind of keep that in your mind. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do this one next.
Because green was good and red was bad.
Yes.
No, no.
Green is good. Green is good for TV and bad for us.
Gosh, I knew I had it. If something was good and something was bad.
Well, because the databases are TV databases. Mm-hmm. So,
it's meant for that.
Yeah. So this shows a topographical terrain map with TV signals transposed over it. And this is Chattanooga. I love Chattanooga. One of my favorite scary touring stories happened in Chattanooga. Anyway, I love it because it makes such a pretty terrain map here. What we can see here is now it's the opposite. Red is bad for microphones and purple and blue are good for microphones. And what we can see is that while that previous database simply shows us a mathematical estimation on effective radiated power based on distance, mm-hmm. This takes into effect the terrain. So we can see here TV WTVC at 45 kilowatts is, obviously bad in these red areas. Your wireless mic's not going to work. Probably not in most of the green areas either, but you'd have no problem using it in that ravine. You're effectively shaded from that wireless signal. So you could use your wireless mic down there. This is a bit more advanced, but when we get into situations where things get really tight, we can go here and look and see. Sometimes things get really complicated. You know, I've got a customer that says, well, I work in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. Oh, crap. You know, we got some work to do to figure out what's going to be their best option, because now we've got to look at some trade-offs here, you know. So let's take a look at that for a second. And we remember our TV map we just looked at a minute ago.
Yes. The one that had a picture of an apple pie on it. I loved it.
Yes. Let me do this. Now you got me hungry for apple pie.
Sorry, but I just thought it was a good thing to talk about. Yeah.
So let's take a look at WFLD. WFLD TV. And here you can see WFLD virtual channel 32. Now this one didn't have to move. 32 is below 37, so it wouldn't have had to move. Okay.
Yeah.
But it did. It was 32 up to 2009. It was digital at 31 up to 2019. And now it is digital 24.
Okay.
So the problem here is that because of the repack, everybody moved around. You know, a lot of channels moved around, even ones that didn't have to move. You know, they were for various reasons. So let's take a look at what Chicago looks like now. And I believe I got this for you. Okay. So here you can see I've created a little list, and I've listed it by TV channel, and I've included the frequencies so we can start to talk wireless mics here now.
Okay.
So here we can see our WFLD we just talked about is now at TV 24. It used to be at 31. So 31 now opened and 24 got closed. So the data that you were looking at on your database is completely wrong. Okay, so if you're looking at the databases and a lot of the online frequency finders, they're catching up, but at the time of this recording, a lot of them are wrong, just simply wrong. So what does that have to do with us? Put a hold on this for a quick minute.
Okay. Yeah. I'll remember it. I'm really good at this part where you ask me to remember what the graphics were, because I can tell you exactly what they were.
Good. Viewers have the benefit of rewind. But you know, this is kind of how it is. And I'm sorry if you feel like you're getting kind of ping-ponged around, viewers. That's really kind of what the process is. We're pulling a lot of information and going back and forth and looking at a lot of things. So just for fun, I'm going to pick on the Shure BLX series, and we could take a look at the H8 or the H9, which are 518 to 542 or 512 to 542 respectively. So remember those numbers, John.
Okay.
All right. Remember those numbers, 518 to 542 or 512 to 542? Great.
512, yeah.
Good job. Let's go back to our Chicago map and let's take a look. And we can see that from frequencies 518 to 542,
Chicago's got something there.
completely unusable. Just completely unusable. Even if you go to the H9 band, which is 512 to 542, can't use it. Can't use it. So we'd have to find something that operates, you know, either down here or in this little gap. All right. That's going to be your best bet in Chicago. So to your point, does that mean this is the best everywhere? No, absolutely not. One more example. Take a look at my friends in Denver. I can't see it on my screen. Here we go. 518 to 542 is your best choice. Wide open.
And it's just because there aren't any television stations broadcasting on those frequencies.
Yep. Now, the nice thing about TV is, other than these major seismic shifts, they don't move. So, you know, this isn't going to change tomorrow. We had a huge 6-year process of transition, major upheaval. That process is to have concluded as of July of this year. Things are pretty much set in stone now. So bottom line, you know, we know where those TV stations are going to be until there's another major seismic shift. It doesn't change on a daily basis. You know, it's very expensive, very time consuming, and, you know, involves a lot of paperwork as well. So that's the nice thing about TV. Unlike other environmental things, white space devices, you know, which are other devices that operates in those gaps, other wireless microphones, that sort of thing. You know, those are much more unpredictable. But with great regularity, we can predict well, it's not even a matter of predicting anymore. It's a matter of analyzing. We can analyze and help a customer decide what the best band to buy for their area is.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get you a wireless system with the most available space between TV stations, you have the best chance of dealing with anything else that's there.
And that,
which, by the way, we do that as a free service for anybody buying a wireless.
and the other things that are there, when you're referring to that, that might fit into Dave's question here. Of when you have your wireless microphones at home and you're testing them at the garage, what have you, in the house, it sounds great and everything's working well, but you get it out to the site, and sometimes the reception you had at home isn't what you're getting out in the field. And what are some of the things that could be interfering or causing those problems?
Well, it could be, remember our map of Chattanooga, could just be relative to where you are to the TV station. Could be that you're now starting to pick up something that, is further away, that was lower power at home. And maybe because you're on a hill at this venue, now you're more vulnerable. That happened to me. Hard lesson learned. First year I did the college football national championship game. We did all this work with the databases and all those sorts of things. And we got there and we started testing things. And now, granted, we were doing this days before the game, which is why you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And doggone it, I just couldn't get this frequency to work. And so, well, where can we move? Let's move it over here. Still didn't work. So, try a couple different things and think, boy, whatever is causing me a problem is really big. So at that point, and here's a sneak preview to the answer to today's question, could be a hardware issue, could be some other things. Those are usually not the case. So, we thought, well, it could be those things, or it could be that something else is really here, even though it's not supposed to be, So, which is where I learned about the terrain maps, by the way. It's like, hey, we could map this. That's a good idea. Google's got all this technology. So what we found by running a spectrum analyzer is there is, in fact, a TV station there that's not supposed to be. It's a long distance away, but due to the height of the tower and the relatively flat landscape of where we were for the game, a lot of prairie land, basically, that TV station was, in fact, showing up, even though the database said it probably shouldn't. So, and I think all of us can relate to this in some way or another when you're driving and you pick up a radio station from a really long ways away, atmospheric bounce, that sort of thing. Those things can happen. That's a distinct possibility. Some of the other things that could interfere with you could be spurious emissions, could be noise, RF noise. Some of the, low cost, I'll avoid saying knockoff import, but that's usually the case. Video walls, they are terrible. They have no good shielding, and certainly I can't say that applies to all of them, but I can say that all of the ones I've seen problems with, they had a name I'd never seen on them before,
right, yep.
And you just go, they're knocking out entire banks of RF, very broadband noise. So, when people are telling me they can't find a clean channel anywhere, that's usually the first question I ask. Is there a video wall there? It just happens. Could be other devices, everything's working fine till somebody brings in their wireless system and they just happen by chance to land on you. As the space between TV stations gets smaller, the chance that we're going to bump into each other is going to get greater. And certainly not lastly, but the last one I'll mention in this little answer is you. You could be making your own problems. Your frequency could be bouncing off your mic, off of some objects, bouncing around the room and bouncing back into you. We call those multipath nulls. We could be creating your own problems, or you could be creating RF intermod, which is RF harmonics. One thing I thought about doing would be, and maybe this is a good future show, would be to set up like the Audio-Technica 3000 series, 4th generation network series, because in their software, which you can connect via Ethernet, they have what's called a timed walk test. So you can basically go walk around and come back and then look at the results, look at the signal on the antenna, and you can say, wow, I was really close to a dropout there. It worked. I didn't hear a problem, but I was really close to a problem there. So then you can start to think about why, what happened when I got over here? What was the situation? And you can react accordingly.
Yeah. Is there a source behind a wall that's broadcasting something that could be problematic?
Yeah. Did I walk next to a metal freezer and all of a sudden reflections went crazy? Exactly. What was it, right?
Yeah. Yep. A lot of variables. Excellent.
That is the most frustrating thing about RF is there are a lot of variables and it's invisible. You know, there's just nothing that is absolutely rock solid. You know, anybody that says, well, I have XYZ and it's been rock solid, that's probably a product of a couple things. Good management, you know, good RF management is essential. Good antenna etiquette is essential. Doing those things, you know, having good tools and using them properly gives you the best result. But at the end of the day, you also have to chalk it up to just being a little bit lucky. You know, I'm 8-0. As I said in a previous show, I'm undefeated in college football national championships. I've done 8 of them and I never had problems. And I just don't want to do anymore. I'd like to quit because sooner or later it's going to happen.
I'm going to go out on top, man.
That's right. You know what? I learned my lessons from Brett Favre and Michael Jordan, and you know I'm going out on top, right? So hard to argue that they didn't, though. I mean, arguably two of the best athletes in history, but you know, still, I'm a chicken. I'm just gonna call it quits.
Let's see. Day asked, does changing channels on the mic help with the interference, or is it the same? Examples: if his Shure mic has a 1 through 4, 2 through 6, 3 through 7 option. I'm not familiar with what model would have that.
Well, I still have this Shure thing up here, so let's go back to it because I think this is going to answer their question. People talk to me sometimes. They'll say, "I don't understand, you know, what you mean by frequency. My mic only has group and channel." Okay, groups and channels are for you. They are easy ways to help you understand what's happening, but at the end of the day, it's always frequency. So your mic doesn't really have groups and channels when it comes to RF tuning. It only has frequencies. The group and channel is just how it conveys that information to you.
Okay.
So is this, did that get bigger?
Yep, there you go. Now it's larger. Yes.
Good.
Perfect. I can see it now.
Yeah, I was hoping that would be the case. So what we can see here is, you know, group A channel 0 is actually 540.925. So today's question, if we stay in group A and we go to channel 1, it's now 518.7. So yes, short answer, changing that should help. Now, two things about this. You can just kind of, you know, do this and hope you get lucky. Or most mics have a scan feature or something that will hopefully find some of those. And many of these now allow you to scan and share that list with other wireless devices in the rack, either by a cable connection or in the case of like the EV-RE3, which is on a stellar sale until tomorrow, by the way. So like I have to mention that. If you're watching this on Thursday, too bad you missed it. I'm sorry. But anyway, those don't have the ability to link electronically, but you do scan a list and you go back and you say, okay, here's the channels it found. Use this one for the first one, use it for the second one, manually set those after the first one. And one thing that's really important is these groups. As long as I stay in group A, these frequencies should not interfere with each other.
Okay.
Assuming that they're all open. So, you know, again, it's a complicated thing. I'm not saying, oh yeah, if one frequency works in A, they all will. No, I didn't say that. What I'm saying though is they will not create interference with each other. Whereas if you mix some of these, you know, from A to B to D, they may have RF harmonic properties where you start creating intermod. Complicated? Yes.
Yeah, a little bit, but that was interesting. I didn't I knew it existed, but I didn't realize it wasn't. I kind of somewhat assumed that they were numerical increases. Yeah, that
well, and that's
but they bounce all over.
Yeah, exactly. Let me jump back here for a quick second again, because that's something else. People say, well, you know, I don't want to be on channel 1 and channel 2 because that they're really close to each other. No, not really.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
That's a huge jump. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not at all. You know, again, people misunderstand what a group and a channel is relative to an actual frequency. Groups and channels exist for one purpose: to prevent intermod. Wireless mic manufacturers have created these groups to give you the most compatible channels. Simple.
You mentioned EV's got the RE series microphones. There's a great deal going on with those.
Crazy good deal, yeah.
With those, you've got handheld options, you've got belt pack options, and they've got the different frequency options and such for basically getting the right system for pretty much every location with a little guidance.
Yeah, they have a 5L band, a 5H band, and then a 6M band, and yeah, it's they're I think 32 or 36 megahertz of tuning. I forget exactly which it is right now. It's 36, but anyway, we've got it's so many wireless numbers in my head. Same thing. You could roll the dice and maybe get one that works for your area or maybe not. But we're going to do the homework for you and make sure. Here again, that's just one of many steps. RF can be an exceedingly frustrating process, but we're here to walk you through it. We're here to help. Offer some guidance. And I think we've gotten a lot of people there. I see a lot of positive comments online. People say, Ben helped me up and helped me out, and then my wireless works great now. Mm-hmm. Leave it to my friend Alan to text me during the show. Everybody else learned their lesson, but not Alan.
Not Alan. He's on Facebook watching us, and he just commented. So
yes, there is a rubber chicken back there that Alan left when he visited my home a few weeks ago, and he thought I wouldn't see it, but I left it there. I say hello to the chicken every morning, Alan, just for you.
That just sounds.
He doesn't eat much, so he's welcome here.
That sounds like something he would do. Sneak it. Yeah, just said that. Those kids. So microphones are on sale. If you guys are interested in upgrading your wireless system, give Ben a call. The link for the website's down there. You can go to the website, find a phone number, give them a call, talk to Ben, Katie, or email, whatever you need to do. But tomorrow is the last day on the EV mic sale. Granted, there's other brands. If you've got a favorite brand, Ben can help you out with that also.
Well, that's a great point, John. We carry 260 brands, and I don't know how many of them make wireless mics, but I think sometimes I frustrate people because they say, well, what would you get? And I say, I could use any one of these 5 or 6 models, Yeah. I'm happy with all of them, There isn't just one good answer, and it really can be dependent on your budget, can be dependent on a lot of different factors. So I think, people just wish they would just pick one for me. I'm like, well, but the truth is there are a lot of good systems out there. There really are. And the advancements that have been made and the amount of money that you have to spend to get them has really become favorable. I think now that the landscape is more or less settled and the manufacturers really know what they can make, we're seeing some pretty awesome stuff come out and certainly some pretty awesome pricing. So, the EV sale ends tomorrow. If you want to jump on it, you'd be crazy to miss it, but there's going to be more sales on other stuff later. It's not the end of the world too, right? So I don't want you to feel squeezed or pressured, but it is a pretty good sale.
Somebody asking if the the EV belt packs are also on sale.
Everything, every EV RE3 thing is on sale. Now, let me answer another question that people ask. I love the conspiracy theorists out there. I'll call them. I don't know what you want to be called, but no, the RE3 is not being discontinued. No, it's not being replaced. It just came out like a year ago. Yeah. They're not already. Yeah, it's just on sale. The manufacturers know that gigs are starting to come back. Things are starting to open up a little bit. People are starting to open their wallets a little bit. Everybody wants a piece of that pie. So they're basically bribing you with sales to buy their stuff. Evolves are on sale. Evolve is not being discontinued. It's not being replaced. It's not being upgraded. There's no changes coming to the Evolve line anytime soon. Nothing like you would think anyway. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about the Evolve 50M. I don't officially know anything, but they accidentally kind of slipped when they released the 30M. I think without having any certainty, I will say that it would not surprise me that we would see an Evolve 50M in the next year.
My suggestion to them was I wanted an Evolve 50C for camo.
You could probably custom paint.
That'd be so cool. You'd put it in a room and people would be like, I hear sound, but I don't see it. Where is it? Camo.
And that's how you know John's from Minnesota. Camo is, especially coming up here in like a month, it's deer hunting season. And camo, there's camo tuxes, Camo and blaze orange is like, that's a fashion statement around here. So cool. The blaze orange edition. There you go, John.
Yeah. See, I didn't even think about that one. How cool would that have been? Blaze orange.
No comment from me.
Well, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you guys for being with us tonight, and we had a great crowd. If you want to take advantage of any of the microphone deals with the RE series, give Ben a call tomorrow. He'll get you hooked up with that. Otherwise, as he said, there'll be more things coming down the line, so do it when it's a good time for you. Yeah, good on that. So again, the website link is in the description below. Ben, thank you much for putting some great information together for us tonight on the microphones.
Yeah, my pleasure, John. Thanks for having me.
We'll be back at the top of the hour. We've got Brian and Jay coming back, and we're going to talk a little bit about where DJs, some of our friends, where they have gone here as things have gone through the summer here of 2020. Thanks for watching.